Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you're here. We're going to have fun today, so be ready. This is going to be special. My name's Karen Barbito. I'm the Special Projects Manager for Support After Abortion, and I have two of my colleagues with me. Niles
So, hey, I'm Niles Pinckney. I'm the men's healing coordinator here at Support After Abortion, and we're so glad to have you all here and welcome you here and have some fun today.
and Stacy. How about you? Would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy Gamitter, Impact Development Specialist with Support After Abortion. I get to connect with amazing donors and providers just like you and really enjoy building these relationships. I also run our e-store, so now you've got a face to go with the store. I'm so excited to be a part of this webinar.
Thank you, Stacy, for being here. We are going to do role plays today. We're going to have a whole lot of fun today. When we start a role play, we're going to keep people in the waiting room and we're going to put a background to our screens that says role play. Because in the past, when we've done that, people have come into this meeting halfway through and have thought that we had really lost our mind and we're teaching people to facilitate in all the wrong ways. So we want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding today. So, like I said, today we're going to have fun. Back to the role play days. There will be drama and acting and exaggeration, all the things we don't want to do when facilitating a group. The title of this webinar is Managing Our Emotions When Hearing Other People's Pain. Here are some of the learning objectives for this webinar so you'll know what to expect from the session, like recognize the difference between helpful and harmful facilitative responses to participant sharing. Demonstrate appropriate body language and facial expressions when hearing traumatic stories. Avoid making assumptions about participants' experiences and emotions. Respond with empathy while maintaining emotional regulation. Create a safe space for participants to share without fear of judgment. Practice supportive listening techniques that validate participants' experiences. And as a participant, what do you do if your facilitator is leading in the wrong way? Niles, how about you take it from here?
You've all heard of a poker face, but that's not what we're aiming for as facilitators. We absolutely want to show compassion and empathy that's essential. The challenge is finding that sweet spot between being genuinely caring and staying emotionally regulated. When we overreact, whether it's gasping, looking shocked, or bombarding someone with questions, we're actually sending a message we don't intend. The person sharing might interpret our strong reaction as judgment, like their story is too much or somehow wrong. They could feel criticized or think they made a mistake by opening up. Here's what happens next. That person shuts down. They stop sharing, and here's the ripple effect. Other group members are watching too. They see that reaction and think, if the facilitator can't handle their story, they definitely can't handle mine. Suddenly, the safe space we worked so hard to create is compromised. People start holding back, and the healing environment we've built begins to crumble. That's why learning to manage our emotional responses isn't just help, it's critical to the success of our groups. With that being said, let's get started.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment before we go. So Niles and I are going to change roles. We'll be facilitators. We have 4 role plays to do for you today. 3 of them have a wrong and a right way. One just has a wrong way. And Stacy is going to be another participant in the group in all of these role plays. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. Look at all of our body language, all of our expressions on our face, everything that shows that we're reacting to being said in some kind of way. And in doing that, I want you to be able to recognize when perhaps you're doing some of these facilitator things, not as extreme as we're going to show them today. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But also, I want you to pay attention to what the participants' reaction is, right? Because when you are facilitating a group, you need to be able to create a safe place. And if you see that people are starting to back away, look down, have wide open eyes, or shaking their head no, those are cues for you to take stock in what it is that you're actually doing. So let me set my background for the role play like my colleagues have already done. And before any of you laugh, I am just going to address the elephant in the room. I have curly hair, and curly hair does not do well with backgrounds. I don't want to see any comments in the comment thing about the lunch lady with the hairnet on, okay? Because this is humbling for me. All right, here we go. Role play number 1, exaggerated responses. This is the wrong way. I'm the facilitator, and Niles and Stacy are abortion healing group participants. And here we go. Hey everyone, how was your week? Anything come up for you? Yeah, Niles, what do you want to share?
This week was rough.
Are you open to sharing what was rough about your week?
I can do that. I was at the grocery store and I noticed a woman had bled through her shorts. It was like I was right back to my abortion experience. I felt overwhelmed, helpless, scared. I thought I had come so far, but now I don't know where I am.
Hmm. Thanks for sharing that, Niles. Triggers can surprise us and send us back to traumatic times in our lives. It's very normal to feel overwhelmed, helpless, and scared. And Niles, you have come a long way. I know we haven't gotten to the week when we share our stories, but would you like to tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Sure. My girlfriend at the time and I decided to get an abortion when we found out she was pregnant. We got the pills, and she took the first set the day before she flew up for my football game. She and my family came to the game, and after when fans were looking for autographs and bombarding me with pictures, I noticed that my partner had bled through her white pants. I stopped dead in my tracks.
Gosh, Niles, are you kidding me? How awful, how embarrassing. Did people around you notice? Did your parents notice? What did your girlfriend do? What did you do?
Um, rather not talk about it anymore.
What do you mean? You just shared it. Now you don't want to talk about it? Let's move on. Let's talk about what just happened, Niles. What was that like for you?
I mean, you know my story. This is personal for me, but if this was me as a participant, it gave me a feeling of being confused. Karen, as a facilitator, started out so kind and compassionate, but when I got into the details of my experience and my story and how I felt, it was like she allowed herself to react to the situation and took the focus off of me. It made me unsafe. I won't lie. Even though we're acting, it made me feel that way. I felt like I was saying something wrong or I did something wrong. I felt unheard. I felt worse after sharing than before, as another participant may feel. Like if that's how you're going to react to my sharing, this isn't going to be the place for me or anyone else in the group.
Thank you for that, Niles. And I appreciate you really getting into the role because that's what we're trying to do here. Just organically be present and then however that made us feel. Yeah, I appreciate that. What was it like for you, Stacy, as another participant?
Well, when you responded, it felt like the focus shifted away from Niall's experience. Your action felt really intense, and it made me hesitate to share my own story. I also felt sad for Niles and can tell it was a hard moment for him, which left me wondering what was behind such a strong reaction from you.
Yeah. That's really good. And I want to take a moment here to really key in on what it was. We're going to see if it changes from role play to role play or if these are visceral responses that we have when certain situations come up. Like, was it my expressions, Niles? Was it the rapid fire of my questions? Was it was it me taking the focus off of you? What was it that was really the hardest thing for you?
Well, there's this thing where it's like, if you're at this level and somebody's here, you'd be like, maybe you need to come down here with this level in the conversation. So I felt like when I was coming off and it was something very hard, and I maybe have been at a three at my at level of wanting to talk and energy, and you could just tell by the what I was giving off, you came right at me with a 10 and bombarded with questions, and it was one of those things that if anyone is in that situation, they may feel overwhelmed because they don't know how many to
Yeah.
and I've been learning from you as a facilitator. You've taught me many things of asking the right questions, but also not asking compound questions.
Yeah. And
Like,
that brings another point. And that's really good because we need to, we say that as a facilitator, we need to remain vulnerable and be authentic and share. But when you take the attention off of the participant who's sharing at this time, not the right direction to go. So look for that when you're facilitating. I did it to a friend of mine the other day. She was sharing with me something that was important to her, and I went off because I wanted to share about what was important to me. And when I get the moment, I'm going to go back to her and apologize for doing that because she was the focus at that time, not me, right? It's the same situation. Okay, so for those of you watching, I thank you for all of your comments, you guys. I'd love to hear in the chat what you thought and or felt while listening to this role play. This was exaggerated to make a point, but now I want you to hear this, could these same words be spoken without the drama, without the elevated tone of voice, without the facial expressions, have a similar impact on the client who shared? What do you think? I'd like to hear what you think in the chat. Even well-meaning curiosity can feel invasive when someone's vulnerable. Let me say that again. Even well-meaning curiosity can feel invasive when someone's vulnerable. So now we're going to do role play the right way, the same one. Okay, here we go. Hey, everyone. How was your week? Anything come up for you? Yeah, Niles, what would you like to share?
This week, when I was at the grocery store, I noticed a woman who had bled through her shorts. It was like I was right back to my abortion experience. I felt overwhelmed, helpless, scared. I thought I had come so far, but now I don't know where I am.
Thank you for sharing that, Niles. Triggers can surprise us and send us back to traumatic times in our lives. It's very normal to feel overwhelmed, helpless, and scared. And Niles, you have come a long way. I know we haven't gotten to the week when we share our stories, but would you like to tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Thank you for that. And I can share. My girlfriend at the time and I had decided to get an abortion when we found out she was pregnant. We got the pills and she took the first set the day before she flew out to my football game. She and my family came to the game, and after, when fans were coming up to me asking for pictures and autographs and anything else you can think of, I noticed that my partner had bled through her white pants. I stopped dead in my tracks.
So sorry you went through that, Niles. Can you share what you were thinking when you stopped dead in your tracks? What you were feeling?
I was concerned. I knew I needed to take care of her, get her out of there to safety. I'm going to say I was afraid, and I can be honest, and it's a little hard to say, but I was.
Being afraid in situations like that is very normal. I'm sure what you did in that situation supported your partner, and I would bet made her feel very taken care of and safe. And Niles, you have come far. This is just a temporary setback. Talking about it will help you move forward. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Then let me ask you one last question. What can you do for yourself to help you get back on track?
That's a great question. I allow myself to feel and walk through these emotions that I'm going through. Also, to talk about what I'm feeling and with no shame or grief, but instead, I should look at it as a normal process and that I'm healing.
That's great, positive talk, Niles. You implement that as often as you need to. And listen, I'm here to support you in any way I can. Cut. We forgot our action in our cut. We practiced that, y'all. So Niles, what was that like for you? How did it make you feel?
I definitely would say, like I mentioned, this being personal experience. I felt heard, validated, and not alone. And you, as a facilitator, I feel like I can trust you enough to admit at that moment I was scared. And to go along with that as well, I loved how when you copied my language, that's a small detail, but when I mentioned that I stopped dead in my tracks, you didn't add any emotions. You listened to what I said and you just put it back to me so I can stay in that thought. So that's something I really appreciated.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. That's a good tip for all you watching out there. Stacy, how was that role play for you?
I really appreciated how your response made Niles feel truly understood. You encouraged him to open up more, kept the focus on him, and showed genuine care by asking how you could help. That created such a safe space for me. It made me feel like I could share my own story and take another step forward in my healing.
Okay, so we're going to break after each role play. Put your thoughts and any questions that you have in the chat now, if you haven't already done so. Let us take the background off so that we can let in the people that have been waiting patiently in the waiting room. And Michelle, if you could review the chat and see if there's any questions from our audience, that would be really great. For those of you that are just joining us, please know we just finished our first role play and are now fielding questions. We'll move on to the next role play in just a few minutes. Michelle, what do you got for us?
We don't have any questions specific to this role play yet.
Okay, do we have any comments? Somebody from a different part of the country that might encourage us, or just... I always like it when people put where they're from, because then we know that we have people from Australia and Africa, and it's really kind of cool. It makes the world a much smaller place. Nothing, Michelle? Go on to role play number
Okay,
2.
go on to the next one. Yep.
Okay, take it
Okay.
away, Niles.
Okay, let me change our background. So, this next role play, we will be talking about body language. I know that may be difficult with Zoom and you can't see everything fully, but me and Karen and Stacy, we will all do our best to show it as much as we can with the camera. So please stay with us and get ready to start role play number 2. This first beginning will be the wrong way, and I will be the facilitator, and Karen and Stacy are our abortion healing group participants. And action. So, how was everyone's week? Does anyone feel like sharing what's come up for them? Go ahead.
I've been feeling so much shame lately. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever be able to forgive myself for the abortion.
Okay. Well, you know, what's done is done. There's no use in dwelling on the past.
Wow. It's just that I still cry about it. I feel like nobody really understands how heavy this is for me.
Crying won't change anything. You should focus on moving on. Honestly, others in the group have been through worse situations, and they're not stuck like this.
I thought maybe this group would be a safe place to share, but I'm not sure I belong here.
Karen, you belong when you stop holding on to guilt. Everyone's here to get stronger, not to sit in their feelings forever. You just need to be more positive. So, cut. Now I'm back to my normal self. I apologize for anyone that did not feel comfortable. I don't feel even comfortable doing that myself. So I want to ask, let's just discuss what happened. Karen, how did my body language impact you?
Man, I thought you were rude, inappropriate. I felt dismissed. I felt that what I shared was not right or real. I felt belittled. I lost all trust in Niles and literally checked out of the group, and more importantly, checked out of my own healing. I'm
And
mad
again,
right now.
and again, I apologize because I do not want to be on Karen's bad side. So I have to remind her that we're acting so we can so she doesn't keep that on me. Stacy, what it was like for you to watch?
It was really hard to watch. Your tone and body language felt harsh, like you expected Karen to keep up instead of moving at her own pace. My heart really broke for her. It really broke for you, Karen. And I wanted to reach out and let you know that you're not alone. After that, I didn't feel safe with you as a facilitator and honestly wanted to walk away from the group.
Thank you both for sharing.
And if I
So,
can just say something, Niles, before we move on, we're going to talk about that desire that Stacy had. You know, it's okay to want to do that, but to not do that, we're going to talk about that, right? And the reasons why for that. So thanks for sharing that, Stacy, that was something that you really wanted to do. You just really wanted to support me and lift me back up. But we're going to talk about that later.
so I'd love to hear from people attending the webinar. Please put your comments or questions in the chat, and we'll get to them during the Q&A time after this role play. And we're about to do the right way. And action. So, how was everyone's week? Does anyone feel like sharing what's come up for them? Karen.
It's so hard to say this out loud. I've been feeling so much shame lately. Sometimes I wonder if I'm ever going to be able to forgive myself for the abortion.
Thank you for sharing that, Karen. It takes courage to open up about something so heavy. What you're feeling is very real, and this is a safe place for you to talk.
It's just, I still cry a lot. I feel like nobody really understands how heavy this is for me.
It sounds like those tears are carrying a lot of weight for you. You don't have to go through this alone. Many people in this group can relate, and your
Mm.
feelings matter here. We want to talk and walk alongside you in this.
I thought maybe this group would be a safe place to share, but I was scared I wouldn't belong.
You absolutely belong here.
Mm.
Every person's journey is unique, and your story matters. We're not here to judge or rush your healing. We're here to listen and support you as you take each step at your own pace.
Wow, I feel like a weight's been lifted off me. Makes me feel a little better. Thank you so much.
And scene. Just to make sure we could know when the cutoff is. So let's discuss what just happened. Karen, how did my body language impact you?
I felt heard. I felt understood. I felt like what I was feeling and where I was on my journey was normal. I felt encouraged that the heaviness and pain would get better. I felt safe. You gave me hope.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Stacy, how about for you?
The way you leaned in and spoke to Karen with such compassion really moved me. It felt like you truly saw her and met her right where she was in her healing. The gentleness in your words created such a soft, safe space for her to open up, and I could feel the care in that moment. It gave me a sense of safety too, and a deep gratitude that I found the right group to be a part of.
Niles, I just saw a chat come through that says you've been nominated and won the Emmy.
I wish. I wish I could be up there with Denzel, but I feel like I'm some years behind.
We're having way too much fun, y'all. I hope you guys watching are having fun too, because this is like a party for us. This is so much fun.
So I want to also, before we go to the next day, I want to say thank you, Karen and Stacy, for your responses, and I really appreciate them. And everyone else, I want to say, even though these are role plays and these things that we have practiced, these are real emotions that we do feel because as you all are feeling and know this is role plays, you know that me, Karen, and Stacy, we would never be this way towards each other. I would never talk to Karen this way because I love everybody. I love her to death. So that's one thing, but I really appreciate everyone and please, again, please put your thoughts in the chat if you haven't already done so, and we'll go through them.
Thanks for that. Michelle, I'm really going to encourage you to share some of the comments in the chat when we get to that part. Not yet, but when we get to it, because they are really great. And it sounds like people are really enjoying this, and I want everybody to hear that feedback. Okay, so please put your thoughts in the chat now if you haven't already done so. Let's take off our role play backgrounds. Margaret's going to let people that were in the waiting room during that role play number 2. And we'll give it a few seconds for people to come in. So Michelle, please review the chat for any questions that our audience may have or any comments about role play number 2. And it doesn't have to be specific to role play number 2. I'd like to hear some positive feedback from how they're enjoying this. And if you're just joining us, thank you for your patience of waiting in the wait room. We learned in past episodes that when people came in halfway through it, they thought that we had gotten really bad at our job. So we wanted to make it really clear that this is exaggerated role play. Please know we just finished our second role play and are now fielding questions. We'll move on to the next role play in just a few minutes. Michelle?
All right, so I don't see questions yet, but this time, since you asked, I'll share some of the comments. One said, Niles is shaming you, and it's really important to be active listening. One of my favorites is a comment that his advice to you was like quitting heroin cold turkey.
Wow.
Several comments about the client needing to feel heard and validated, and that when Niles leaned back, it was like he didn't care. His eye roll was noticed. I noticed that one too. The importance of saying things like thank you for sharing and what you're feeling is real, affirming and validating again. One person said that first part made me want Karen to just log off to end her pain as a participant. And then when y'all went to the good version, comments about Niall's soft voice and encouraging you to go at your own pace. One says y'all are doing a great job role playing. What a great idea to show us in depth what to do and what not to do. It also challenges us to look at ourselves. Love it. And agrees with Niles. We don't want to be on Karen's bad side.
Thank you for that. Listen, all of your feedback is really important for you to notice. That one comment about Niles leaning back, it's something as simple as that could feel judgmental or like as a facilitator, you're not interested in what's being shared, as simple as something like that. So this is not just for us to teach you. This is for you all to teach us and for all of us to teach each other through your comments and questions. I'm really going to encourage you to ask some questions, maybe that question that you don't have an answer to yourself. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next role play. Let's do our backgrounds. This is going pretty smooth, y'all. On to role play number 3. This is making assumptions. And we only have a wrong way for this because my explanation will indicate the right way. I'm the facilitator. Niles and Stacy are group participants. Hey, everyone. How was your week? Anything come up for you? Yeah, Niles, what do you want to share?
Well, last week I was struggling with where my child is. I just couldn't seem to forgive myself or find closure. I know that I'll be punished for what I did, and last week I didn't know if my child would be punished too.
It's normal to wonder where your child is and if they will be punished. Closure and forgiveness looks different for everyone. It may take time. Go easy on yourself. That being said, it sounds like something's changed since last week. Would you like to share?
Sure. Well, this morning I looked out my window and saw a stork in my yard. It just didn't seem like a coincidence since I was just wondering where my child was.
Gosh, Niles, that must have been awful for you. Was the stork looking for your child?
What would make you say something like that? That didn't even occur to me. When I saw the stork, I thought it was a sign that my child had been delivered to heaven. Now I don't know what to say. Thanks, Karen.
I always thought storks carried babies around wanting to deliver them to their parents. I don't know. You saw a stork without a baby. What do you make of that?
Well, to me, I felt like that my child had already been delivered to heaven. And it was a sign of hope and optimism about where my child was. It helped to calm my thinking.
Scene. So, Niles, what was that like for you?
With this certain role play, I feel like I really stepped into this role with assumptions and just that certain dealt with, but it gave me a feeling of being misunderstood. Like the meaning that I had to myself and that I was carried inside was snatched away and twisted into something that wasn't intended. I'd have the feeling of being judged, and then the way your words landed was as if you decided for me what the story meant. And in that moment, it was like you put a spotlight on those feelings and labeled them something completely different than I had. I didn't feel the safe space anymore where I could be open, especially when grief, hope, and faith can be turned into something that makes me feel more insecure.
Mm, that's great, Niles. That's great. Thanks. And Stacy, what was that like for you as another participant in the group?
As another participant, you started with compassion, which helped Niles open up more. But when you started talking about the stork, I felt like the focus shifted to you instead of Niles, like you were making it your own story. It made me feel unsafe, like anything I share might become yours and not my own.
So, for everybody out there that's watching, this actually happened to me in a text conversation. I was working with a woman one-on-one by phone and Zoom for several weeks. We were approaching the memorial moment, and she texted me, Karen, oh my gosh, I just saw a stork walk across my yard. My initial reaction, I'm being completely honest, and I even started to write into the text exactly what I said to Niles. Oh my gosh, was the stork looking for your baby? And thank goodness something caused me to wait. There was some kind of gut reaction in there or something that didn't allow me to hit send. And thank goodness for that. And this is what I texted back instead. And in situations like this, where we make assumptions as to how somebody else is feeling, every assumption, you should hit the pause button. Take your assumption off the table and let the participant explain to you themselves what that actually meant. So what I actually texted to her was, how did that make you feel? And she said, oh my gosh, it means that my baby's in heaven. He's with Jesus, right? I could have blown that out of the water with a stupid assumption because I'm being honest, that's immediately what came into my head when she told me that. But thank goodness something stopped me. And so whenever you don't know how how somebody's really feeling about something? Because she gave me no indication of what she was feeling, like Niles did in this role play. Ask, what was that like for you? How did that make you feel? Open-ended questions for them to be able to draw out and find out for themselves how that really made them feel. So, like I said before, there's no right way for this role play. Put your thoughts, any questions that you might have in the chat now if you haven't already done so. We can take our backgrounds off. Niles, you beat us out to it. And Michelle, if you can review the chat for any questions that our audience may have on role play number 3. We'll give a few minutes for you to look through that. And then Margaret, you can let people in from the waiting room. I'd appreciate that. And if you're just joining us now, please know that we just finished our 3rd role play and are now fielding questions. We'll move on to the next role play in just a few minutes.
Questions.
Okay.
Question 1, if you realize that you said something inappropriate, should you address it, apologize immediately, or just change the line of questioning?
Either of you have a comment on that before I weigh in?
I feel like this is more of your area, Karen, just because I'm getting in that. But I always, you know how we are. I build off of you.
Man, I'm going to own it every single time. I'm going to own it every time. I'm going to apologize right away to the person that I maybe offended. I'm not going to make any excuses for what I did, why I said what I said, but that I will do my best not to let that happen again. I'm going to ask them to regain their trust in me and try to create that safe space again. I give the other participants an opportunity to share what it was like for them. And then maybe I would follow it up with a group email and just apologize again and say, please forgive me, kind of thing. But I would address it right away.
So I haven't facilitated many groups, but there was a situation that I had in a group during the summer, and Karen was there. She supported me and gave me feedback. It was something he was talking about his relationship with him and his wife, and I asked about him, but I may have mentioned his wife and something, and it wasn't nothing to be rude or disrespectful, but Karen brought it to my attention and said, hey, let's make sure we're a little bit more careful with mentioning certain things in the relationship or anything like that. So as soon as Karen told me that, I took it upon myself. Like she said, I emailed him. I said, I apologize if anything I said made you feel uncomfortable, if I had an assumption or anything like that, because I really wanted to make sure I kept that safe space in the group. And he told me, he said, there's nothing wrong with that. He said, I didn't feel anything wrong with it or anything, but it was the fact that I still wanted to make sure and not assume, oh, he's fine, because it was a group for men. And, sometimes as men, we're like, oh, he's fine, he's a man. But this isn't the time to have that kind of relationship. So I appreciate Karen for giving me feedback and helping me along that process. And that was one of my few instances I have.
Yeah. Yeah. When we get to the end, I'm going to talk about we're going to talk about more of that kind of stuff when we get to the end. Okay.
Do you want another question, or you want me to hold them for the end? Okay.
Yep.
But if a client says something that you don't believe in, is a proper thank you for sharing that with us appropriate?
Say that one more time, Michelle.
If a client says something that you don't believe in, would it be proper to just say, thank you for sharing that with us?
I wouldn't do that. I would be curious,
Yes.
and I would ask them to tell us more about what that belief is.
Yes, and Karen's saying is, I love to use it. Can I stay here with you? Or do you mind if I stay here with you? Do you mind if I ask? And I think that's something very important that Karen does do, because even though she does ask, do you mind if I do, or can I stay? She's letting that person know that we want to know more, but as well as if you're not comfortable sharing, it still keeps that safe space of they feel like, okay, she wants to learn more about me, but she won't pry it out of me. And that's something that I feel like Karen does very well. And I've even adapted and learned that not just when it comes to facilitating, but when I'm talking to other people, because I am a football coach. So I'll ask players, they'll tell me certain things about what's going on, or if they don't understand. And I say, well, do you mind sharing why you don't understand, or why do you feel that way? So it keeps the mind of being curious as well as respectful.
Yeah, and I just saw a question come through. Michelle, if you could read that, because I think it's a great question.
I was just going to share it with you. When facilitating a group, what if another client makes a comment about another person's story? What if they are the one that reacted the way that Karen did? How would you respond to that client?
Guidelines. We don't give advice and we don't cross talk, right? It's always I statements, not you statements. So in that situation, depending on how the person that she made the comment to responded, I might address it right then, or I might address them separately outside of the group. It really depends on the dynamic, how the dynamic was changed in that moment. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Would you like another question?
Why don't we hold them? I mean,
Okay.
we have one role play left, and then I'd rather be able to get a lot of questions at the end and make sure that we have time to go through this role play. We're going to get to you, I promise. All right, Niles.
Okay, we're changing our screens back to role play for the last one.
Thank you.
So as we get into our last role play, this one is going to be more on facial expressions. And this one comes home for me because not with just facilitating, but when I do talk to people, people do say I'm very animated at times or certain things like that. So the fact that we're doing this as an example, it really spoke to me when we were working on it, just to not be straight face and stone face, but just have compassionate and just make sure I'm not overdoing it and speaking with my face. So I'm the facilitator, and Karen and Stacy will be the abortion healing group participants. So action. Hey Karen, before we start this meeting, I see that something is wrong with you. Do you mind sharing?
Yesterday was the anniversary of my abortion. I woke up feeling sick, like my whole body remembered. It's been so long, but it doesn't seem to get any easier. Every year I go through this. I try to push through the day, but the sadness, the regret, the shame are overwhelming and come out of left field.
Well, that was years ago, wasn't it? You shouldn't still be letting it affect you like this. It's impacted your life for decades. It's time to move on.
Feels silly, like I should be over it by now. But every year it comes back. I just can't seem to control it. What should I do? Do I need therapy?
I don't know about therapy, but everyone goes through tough days. Karen, you got to stop giving it so much power. Dwelling on it every year isn't going to help you move forward.
Really? Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who still struggles this much.
Plenty of people deal with worse, and don't let it get to them at all. Honestly, you might just need to toughen up a bit and focus on the positive. And scene. So first I want to say is, Karen, how did that make you feel?
I felt weak. I felt dismissed. I felt belittled. I felt like I supposed to forget. I felt invalidated, reprimanded, and ashamed. I felt like I was being disciplined for my feelings. Niles acted like he knew me and what was best for me. I thought he was arrogant. How did it make you feel, Stacy?
Na's body language was very unapproving. Felt very distant, some anger. Just, it felt like your feelings were being dismissed. My heart went out for you. And again, I had such a strong urge to step in and protect you. And at that moment, I realized it's not a safe space for me. I wouldn't want to be a part of the group and experience that kind of energy from Niles.
Thank you both for sharing. And again, that's not who I am as a person. I don't want to think that's how I run my groups. I am completely opposite of that person. I am way better than that, or at least I hope so.
You
So I know we've said it a few times, but please, if you have any comments or questions, please put them in chat and we'll get to them at the end. And we thank everyone. Want to say again, as I know we're getting to the last section of this role play and the last role play in general. I want to say thank you for everyone sticking here with us as well as enjoying having fun with us as well, because we really enjoy doing this for you all. And here we go. Here's the right way. And action. Hey, Karen, before we start this meeting, I see that something is going on with you. Do you mind sharing?
Yesterday was the anniversary of my abortion. I woke up feeling sick, like my whole body remembered. It's been so long, but it doesn't seem to get any easier. Every year I go through this, every year. I try to push through the day, but the sadness, regret, and shame are overwhelming and come out of left field.
Karen, I want to thank you for trusting us with that. I can see how heavy this feels for you right now. Everyone's healing is different. There's no time limit for healing, and sadness and regret and shame are common emotions after abortion, and you're not alone. You've come a long way, Karen.
Feel silly, like I should be over it by now. But every year it comes back. I just can't seem to control it. What should I do? Do I need therapy?
You're not silly at all. Your body and heart remember something very significant. It's normal for emotions to resurface, especially on an anniversary like this. You're not alone in that.
Really? Sometimes I feel like the only one who struggles this much still.
Karen, many people in this group understand those waves of grief. You are definitely not the only one. And here, you don't have to carry it by yourself. We'll sit with you through it.
Mhm. Thank you. I already feel lighter just saying it out loud, like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Thank you for saying that I'm not alone.
Of course. And scene or cut. Karen, I want to ask, how did that make you feel?
Yeah. I felt compassion from you, Niles. I felt physically lighter. I felt understood. It gave me hope. It was good. It was warm. It was like a warm hug. Stacy, how did it make you feel?
I really love that Niles noticed that something was wrong with you or something that was going on with you, and he addressed you or spoke to you about it before the group started. He didn't just jump right in, and he spoke about it, spoke up to you about it. You could tell from his body language that he genuinely cared for you and what was going on with you. And it made the space feel open, safe, and really supportive. It made me feel like I was in the right place to share my story.
That's important for those of you that are watching, right? It's not only Niles speaking to me and being present with me in the moment, everybody else in the group is looking and watching and seeing, right? And as you can see a transformation in the one that Niles is interacting with, the other people are transformed as well. It's an atmosphere that you're creating. So thank you both for sharing. Please put your thoughts in the chat now if you haven't already done so. We can take our backgrounds off. This was the last role play. Margaret, if there's anybody to let in, please do so. And Michelle, you can review the chat for any questions that our audience has from role play 1 through 4. And while she's doing that, I just want to add a few comments that I said that we would talk about during this. I want to spend a few minutes on what you can do as a participant or a facilitator of a group if anything like these conversations happen, right? As a group participant whose leader isn't facilitating well, what can you do? Stacy shared some of the things that she wanted to do for the client that the facilitator was talking with, but what do you do if a facilitator goes off the rails? I would reach out to my facilitator after the group and let her know what that experience was like for me. I would use I statements, and I'm going to give you an example of when that happened to me. I was facilitating a group, it was virtual, and there was one person in the group who was meeting in a public place. It was really loud, it was hard for us to hear as people were walking behind her, and I was really concerned about the confidentiality and anonymity of the people in my group. And I asked her if she couldn't try to find another place where it was more private, where she could sign on virtually. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I didn't think that that was harsh or demeaning or anything like that. But one of the participants had the courage to reach out to me and say, Karen, that offended me. What was it about that offended you? Well, what if that's the only place that she can go to get internet and be able to be a part of this group? Gave me a whole new perspective. I apologized to that person. I apologized to the entire group the next session that we had. And so you can present your concerns and how it made you feel in a way that if your facilitator is a good facilitator, she'll own it and she'll think about things like that in the future. I've never said that again. Okay. And what do you do if a participant um, says something to another person that's sharing? We have group guidelines for that. And we go over those group guidelines at the beginning of our group. We revisit them if any of them are violated. And you can find our group guidelines on our resource tab on our website and can take a look at them and see if they serve you. Take what you like, leave the rest go. Michelle, how we doing?
All right, we've got some comments and questions. Some of the comments were the first role play of this batch was very belittling, that we shouldn't raise our eyebrows or sigh. It's not helpful to tell the person how they feel, that it was very cold and heartless. So good acting, Niles, because he's not. When Niles told Karen she should move on, Stacy sunk down in her chair. And then just loving that Niles thanked Karen for sharing and assuring her she's making progress, and the assurance that she's not alone and that it felt like a blanket of love. We do have several questions, so let's see what we can get to. One commented that when you asked if you needed therapy, Niles didn't respond. And another asked, if someone asks if they need therapy, would you respond in front of others or reach out privately?
Do you want me to answer that, team? Or do you guys want to answer? Okay.
I think that's something that you wouldn't talk about to them in the group or mention. That's something you can maybe step away and ask more of, why do they think that? Or I don't want to say why, because Karen says does he use why, but like, what actions or what motions or what certain things like that make you feel like you need therapy, and just learn more. And then that's something you can have a conversation with, and maybe that's something that they can approach after the group is done. Maybe that's some further healing that they'd like to go, or maybe it's just a feeling, as sometimes when you feel those waves of grief and pain and shame, that sometimes it's overwhelming, that you maybe feel like, okay, maybe I do need therapy. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but it's always just to be curious and learn and ask what is making them feel this way.
Yeah, I would do it outside the group for sure. Michelle, I don't want to forget Mary's question.
Her question was, in a particular role play, the facilitator said other people in the group will understand. And her question was, would it be better to say others in the group may feel the same way and understand, rather than a definitive statement because maybe they wouldn't understand?
Totally. We stay away from absolutes like that every day. So Mary, thanks for picking up on that. And we totally should say may or might rather than will, because we don't know. I mean, I can't say that Stacy's going to understand, but she might.
Do you have time for more questions?
Yep, we have 3 minutes.
All right. From the last role play, the question was, what do you do if you unintentionally say or react in an offensive way and it causes that person to leave the group?
I mean, that would be heartbreaking for me. I would definitely reach out to them and apologize, ask for their forgiveness, ask them if they'd be willing to get on a Zoom meeting with me so that we can talk about it, and that their healing is much more important to them than my mistake, right? I would really try to encourage them to engage. And if they don't want to do it in the group because they're embarrassed or just don't feel safe, then I would offer to work with them one-on-one, or I would offer to connect them to a different facilitator.
Great. Here's a question. What if you have a monopolizing person? How do you redirect that situation?
That happens often. That happens often. If somebody raises their hand, I mean, I really encourage people to raise their hand if they want to share something. And if it's been somebody that has been monopolizing the conversation, I would choose somebody else. I don't think I would call them out and say, we want to make room for other people to share as well. But I'm pretty good at calling on people if they're willing to share and making sure that everybody's got room and space to be able to share what's on their heart. I might talk about them outside of the room if they don't get my drift by not calling on them.
Great. All right, here's another one. What can you do as a facilitator if a participant gets angry or completely shuts down?
I mean, both of those things happen a lot. I mean, people get angry a lot. Um, as long as they're keeping it to I statements and as long as they're not being physically intimidating to the group. I mean, we do all of our stuff virtually. It would be different if it was in person, so I can't really speak to that anymore. But virtually, there's a safety because you're not in the same room with people. And from what I've been told, men can get much more angry and physically intimidating than women can. But I've never had that happen. I would somehow, without offending that person, move the conversation into a different direction and call on somebody else who wants to share. And then I would probably follow up with her after the group to find out what was going on and if she felt heard and understood. And, my job is to make sure that the group is safe for everyone, not just one participant. Then I might check in with the other group participants to see how they were doing with that person who shut down or had elevated anger. Because I can't assume for them how that made them feel like without asking them, right? We already talked about assumptions. I've done that in the past. I'm not doing that anymore. So I would just be curious and try to figure out how it impacted everyone, but I would do it outside of the group. And I would try to redirect the conversation. All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time.